Hi, I'm Crystal, and I'm here today with some stash busting cards using circle punches. So we're going to start out with some negative space. So this card, the circle punches were used to punch holes in the panel, and then I've put pattern paper underneath, and the pattern paper is doing the work. So I thought this was a very easy card, very handy. The next one is also a little bit of negative space. This is some 1-inch circle punches with tiny hearts punched in the middle. This is easier if you punch the hearts first and then the circle. It's a good use for a variety of scrap paper as long as the colors go together, and I think that these do. The next one uses negative space as well, and this is negative space in a couple of squares and also a larger circle punch. So the combination of these circle punches in the squares and in the larger circle gives a very modern look to this card. I think any color scheme would work just fine, but I do love blues and greens together. So now we're going to turn our attention to a couple of cards made using circle punches and a paper trimmer. So this one, there's 6 circle punches laid out in a grid on a panel, and then 6 circle punches laid out on a piece of scrap paper and trimmed down. So instead of trimming each circle punch individually, they're laid out together and then trimmed down. Just thought that was another nice combination of blues and greens. Then we turn to many pieces of circle punches. So this one has 2 punches each, 5 colors, and then each circle cut in half, and then one of the halves cut in quarters, and then they're just arranged in a mod pattern. So I arranged all these on a scrap of paper and then trimmed down the edges of the scrap of paper to make the panel. It was inspired by a die. The die is probably easier, but I could recreate the look with a circle punch. Here's another card where the pattern paper is doing most of the work. We've got 4 strips of pattern paper and 4 1-inch circle punches that I've mixed and matched at the bottom, with the sentiment strip covering the join between the strips and the circles. Just a fun look, shows off a few scraps of pattern paper. Next, plain circle punches, and the interest on this next card is added with an embossing folder. So I made circle punches in a variety of shapes, or a variety of sizes, sorry, and then adhered them to the panel and ran the whole thing through with an embossing folder, and then added the sentiment at the bottom. So great way to use up some scraps of paper, and I think any color scheme would work, but I love all those pinks. Now we've got a little bit of punch art. So vinyl is having a little bit of a comeback, so I'm not as worried that no one will recognize that this is a record album. And I've got a You Rock sentiment that's actually from a geology set, but I think it goes really well with this record album made from circle punches. Next, we've got a little fish. So I've got a plain circle punch for the fish and the bubbles, and a few little scallop circles for some scales, and some little ovals to suggest the lacy fins of a betta fish. Just thought that was a fun little bit of punch art. And then finally, I've got this card, which is Oscar the Grouch, of course, using circle punches for the mouth and the eyes. Now the inspiration sample was Elmo, but that's not my era of Sesame Street. I'm very much an Oscar the Grouch era Sesame Street person. So I was inspired for all of these cards. I've listed the original source with each of the brief instructions in the description box. So I hope that you will seek out those creators, and I thank them for sharing their inspiration and their creations on the internet. I've also got a blog post linked in the description box that includes photos of all of these cards along with those brief instructions. So I hope that I've inspired you to get out your circle punches and work on your pile of scraps a little bit, and I thank you for joining me today.